Hello, good day, good day. This is me once again from the Diaspora Watchdog blog. And today I'm going to read my message to a brother of mine. He's from Benin and he's a brother, he's a friend, he's our son. And his name is Obazee, the crack team boss. I love that name so much, but I think this guy's got a lot of energy in him, but there are times he fails to see the things other people are saying. And I would like to tell you, before I start, I would like to make some quotations to you, Mr. Obazee. He said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. What I'm about to tell you is the greatest agony I've been having watching you people on YouTube. Your comments about security in the state, I just feel it's an agony deep down in me, and I can't bear it no more. I just need to say that." Do you know what Mahatma Gandhi said in one of his comments? He says the nation's culture reside in the heart and in the soul of its people. And I would also like to refer you again to another quote by a great writer, Sekono. He said, "Great nation is a nation that respects the service of the hero." Are we respecting the services of our hero in the States? When we are talking about security, do you think we have security in that state? That doesn't mean the governor is not doing well, but we will have to say that it's not doing enough to provide security. And that is what I'm going to say to you. There is something you should know. It's that we are one state. But there is one thing. Edo State is home of the brave. We are brave, we are happy, we are lovely, and we are nice people. But recently you came on the social media, you were tagging Edo State as the safest state in Nigeria. I'm going to read my letter to you. And my letter goes like this. "Dear Mr. Obazee, after watching your video on the YouTube, whereby you were tagging Edo State as the safest state in Nigeria, and that Edo State is safer than the United States of America. This singular word by you, Mr. Obazee, has made the Benin chief to visit the palace to lay their complaints to the Oba of Benin, and to also denounce the word of Obazee, which strictly contradicts the security of the state, and thereby labeling you a liar. Before we begin with this segment, we would like to enlighten our readers and those that are listening to this, the definition of peace. And peace in the Greek word, in case you don't know, is irene. However, it is also seen as concord or harmony and tranquility. It is viewed as peace of the mind or serenity, especially in the East. It is defined as the state of law or civil government, a state of justice or goodness, a balance or equilibrium of power. This leaves us with a question that I'm about to ask you. Does the present state of Edo State meet up with this definition? Mr. Obazee, I'm sorry to tell you that you have failed in your right as a citizen of the state to see the looming danger in the state, which has plunged the state into a state of political dungeon. that has led to undespicable carnivorous habit of ourselves. You must know that your claim as Edo State being the most secured state in Nigeria is another veritable bugaboo, which must be uprooted by all loving Edo State people. According to Plato, he said, Plato, the great philosopher, in case you must know, at all point in time in any democracy, the people and only the people must remain the philosopher case. Underline that word. It is only the people that must remain the philosopher case in any transparent democracy. Why I'm saying this to you is that whenever anybody comes out on the social media, and there is a saying that says about corruption, it says that it is only the youth that can fight corruption. Do you know one thing? According to ex-American Vice President Joe Biden, when I listened to his speech, he said, corruption is a cancer that eats away at a citizen's faith in democracy. It destroys innovation, creativity, and it destroys important investment in a country. In a state like ours, investment are being destroyed daily. Do you know another thing? We are youths. Do you know another thing corruption does is that it wastes the talent of an entire generation. It scares away investment and job. And what is the duty of the youths? The duty of the youth is to challenge corruption. You and I, we must stand up and recognize that the system is corrupt. Because corruption is the enemy of development and of good governance. It must be got rid of. Both the government and the people at large must come together to achieve this national objective in our state. And do you know one thing? The only way we can fight corruption in the state is that the people to fight corruption themselves, they have to be clean. And another thing I will have to say from Joe Biden, he said, fighting corruption is not just a good governance. It's self-defense. It's patriotism. Are we patriotic? When we say there is no corruption, are we being patriotic? What do you think about a man who is at home and he sleeps at home and is insecure about himself? He's so afraid that someone will come in to kidnap him. I'm going to tell you that the confirmation of the chief, you will further agree with me that the state governor must come down from his mountain Everest and confront this political Rambo and Evans in Edo State that has enveloped the state. He must show more complacent and security interest, must be ready to show his role as a leader in this environmental ring road we find ourselves. That we have all been turning around in a situation where there is no exit. Your right to say Edo State is the most secure state in the country is not your democratic right, but it is considered as your inalienable right because a democratic right is in the Constitution. It's the right that you have in the Constitution. But an inalienable right is a right that you think about. Your right becomes an inalienable right because you are trying to defend a cause that is not worth justification. Mr. Obazee, once again, I would love to tell you that the reason for politics is just one reason. It's simply for the people And if what I'm watching in your video, it goes right, it leaves me with a notion that the reason young people are going into politics is simply because of power, to oppress the voice of the voiceless. The only reason to understand the state of insecurity in the state is fear. When you refuse to talk about high unemployment rates among the youth, it will also make you to agree with the fact that what the ex-president of Ghana said, Mr. Jerry Rawlings, he said that every young graduate without a job for a long time becomes a time bomb to his community. I hope you know what that means. When a youth is jobless for a long time, he becomes a time bomb in his community. He can explode anytime. And when such youth explode, it causes damages to his community. It destroys his brothers and sisters. Who are you going to blame? Are we going to blame this young man who becomes a time bomb because of neglect? Because the government that is meant to protect him and to serve him, the government has neglected him, and he has becomes a time bomb by sitting at home, watching his mother die, or watching his sister cry for food. Do you call this a system of just systems, or you call this a system of total collapse? A fallacy that you have said. And this is against the democratic nature of the state. I would like to inform you once again that our state governor, His Excellency, Governor Obazee, is one of the most educated governors in the state has produced. And he has succeeded in various sectors he has worked for. And he knows deep down in him that the state has political and security challenges. He also, in his view, is working hard to ensure it is tackled. For you to think the governor hates those that criticize him is just another joke from you. And I will say it's another royal in the jumbo from you. The honorable governor shared from the books of thought that only with constructive criticism comes rapid development, and challenges are bound to come when there is development. And this is one of the challenges we are facing in the states, and we don't need to shy away from such challenges. We need to come out to speak against it. We need to stand up as citizens of the state to condemn it, and we need to stand up to fight against it. But for one to come up to defend the insecurity in the state and to defend the states of corruption in the state, that person has not only failed in his right, that person has failed in his conscience. And I'm going to tell you that the governor of the state, I don't think my governor is mad over Iranomigo, Aigbogun. I don't think so, because the government that I know of Governor Obazee is a government of dialogue and engagement, because that is the only way we can resolve every negative situation in the state. Your recent rant on social media about the state of affairs of the state is like a slap on the face of that unemployed youth, that sick child that cannot go to school because his father cannot afford the school fees, the able young man that has a little brother to take care of but has no job, a dying mother that cannot afford a good medical treatment. As a politician or social critic that you claim that you are, before we can judge things, at times we must put ourselves in others' shoes, and not just because we have a roof over our head. According to Mr. Gandhi, he said the most disadvantageous peace is better than the most just war. And he went further to say, Peace is more important than all justice. And other, he said, I prefer the most unjust peace to the justest war that was ever waged. Do you know what that is? Peace is better than anything gold and diamond or the Gulf War that the American claimed a great victory from, or the great falls of the walls of Berlin. And from there you have to go to the Middle East, because that is what we need in Edo State. We need peace. Yet we agree little on what is peace. It's all about why the citizens of Edo State consider the tranquility and harmony within the state, which has been invaded by kidnappers, the Fulani headsmen, the armed robbers, thereby sending shock waves to the spine of its loving citizens, who are now forced to live in fear. Amongst the things that leads to war, which we can all ascertain, is it's threatening the security of our states today. That is violence, instability, and crime. These are the three major things that can ignite a state of confusion, a state of war, and a state of rage. The Fulani herdsmen invasion of the state, if not control, will serve a great conflict and instability in the states. As we can all agree, conflict is a balancing of power among interests, capabilities, and wills. It is a mutual adjusting of what people want, can get, and are willing to pursue. Conflict behavior, whether hostile action, violence, or war, is then a means and manifestations of this process. Conflict is a manifestation of oppression to the people of Edo State. Hostile actions and violence cannot bring peace to the state, but it can only destroy the state. Conflict and cooperation, therefore, are interdependent. They are alternative phases in the continuous social process, underlying human interaction. We need cooperation in the state, Mr. Albert Obazee. We need peace. We are the youths of the state. As youth of the state, let not be hidden under fallacy. Let not be hidden under inappropriate manners to go against the youth that speaks against the corruption that goes around in the state. Corruptions must be tackled from the root, or else when it grows, it becomes cancerous. And when it cancerous, it goes so deep into the heart and the mind of the people, and it destroys the people. The only weapon you can use against the youth of the state, the only weapon you can use upon the youth of a nation, is lack of education and fear, insecurity and injustice. And when the youth of a state is frustrated, criminality creeps in. It is time for us to know that it is time for the government to employ all mechanism of dialogue and justice to ensure that peace and make sure that peace reigns in the state. Because it is through conflicts and cooperation people gradually learn from one another. When we have conflict and cooperation, people learn from one another. You cannot say a man came to speak against corruption. You cannot say a man came to speak against things that they have seen, and you declare such man an enemy. You are a man that I know that is a just man. But in the situation like this, I don't know what has changed you over the years. And I would like to speak to you as a brother today. It is time for us to gradually learn more about each other. Dear, mutual adjustment come easier. Their expectation must be harmonious and lasting. Mr. Obazee, the crack team boss like you call yourself. Enough of speaking against those that speaks against things that they've seen going wrong in the state. It is time for you to sit down and think. It is through collective effort we can be able to eradicate things that happens in our state. We must stand up together to fight it. Injustice must be wiped away from the state. Corruption must be cleaned away. Because corruption is the greatest single bane of a society today. Because corruption is just another form of tyranny. Because in the states where corruption abounds, laws must be very numerous. For us to develop in the state, for us to move, the governor that I know, Mr. Governor or Mr. Obazee, he knows what to do. And from the criticism from the youth in the social media, he's learning from it. He's trying to make errors from corrections from those things. And for us to eradicate corruption, I want to speak to the people of Edo State right now. We must not always blame the governor of the state. It is time for the councillors, right from the councillors to the local government chairman. It is time we start holding them responsible for lack of development in the state. It is not only our governor we can hold responsible, because these people, they were voted into power and there are allocations given to them. It is time you and I start going to the councillor of your ward, to your local government chairman, go and ask them what project have they done while they were in office. It is time we go to them and ask them. It is time we tell them, show us what you have done, because the state government is giving you money. What are you doing with that money? We must all come together to uproot injustice, corruption, insecurity in the state. We must hold those in power. We must hold them responsible. That starts from your councillor in your state. In your word. It starts from the councillor, it starts from the local government chairman, and there are senators and House of Representative members. It is time we ask them what they are doing. If they cannot account for what they are doing with the money given to them, then it is time for us to start signing the paper to the House of Rep for them to be returned back from the House of Senate. We must stand against injustice. Now the war is going to the local government chairman. If you are listening to this, the councillors, if you are listening to this speech, it's going to you also. It is time for you to sit up and start doing your job, because we are coming out for you. You need to show us what you have been doing in the local government. I can remember the time of George Ida. I think is the best local government chairman Oredo local government ever had. In the time of George Ida, there were contracts and there were jobs that was executed that you can see that it was done by the local government chairman. But after then, I have failed to see any work that the local government that I came from, that the chairman, he said this is his project. I have not seen. Rather than giving the cassava stem to the farmers. Is that what you collect millions for? It's time to check your conscience. And Mr. Obazee, I did not come to accuse you, but I came to inform you that we must stand together and we must encourage ourselves and we must speak the truth to one another. and we must uproot injustice and corruption. I have seen the strength in you. I have seen the voice in you. I know with that voice, I know you will stand up one day, and I know you can stamp out corruption and injustice in the state. Wake up from your sleep and slumber. The battle is not for you alone. The battle is for every youth of the state. The governor is not alone to be blamed. The governor just came into power. We know he's doing some things to put things in order. But it is time we start asking questions from our councillors, our local government chairman, our House of Rep members, our House of Senate members. We need to ask them questions, what they are doing for the youth of the state. And thank you very much. With this note, I pray for peace. I pray for justice. I pray for unity in the state. And I pray that may God grant our governor, because the Bible makes me to understand that we must pray for our leaders. I pray that Mr. Governor Obazee, I pray for God to grant him more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And I pray for God to empower him, that all the projects he has in mind to do, that God will give him the power to finish them in Jesus' name. And may God bless you, Mr. Obazee, and have a wonderful evening. It is from me, the Diaspora Watchdog blog, Mr. Polo Ralph. I just speak to you like a brother. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.